Hey, what's going on, guys? Bios Normals, and today the Miami Dolphins defeated the Carolina Panthers 33 to 10. Both teams are now 5-7. This is an improvement for the Dolphins, obviously not so much for the Carolina Panthers. And it was a rough game for the Panthers. The Dolphins, I saw them doing a lot of that, cover zero blitz type of formation. Early on in the game, they kind of strayed away from it and they went on and off from it, but for the most part, they just tried to apply as much pressure as possible, and even without that zero blitz, they were able to do it, which was very good for the Dolphins. And I think it was a really good defensive game. Offensively, I feel like the Dolphins were able to score and capitalize on moments, but they also had struggles dealing with the Panthers' pass rush, which was all over in the backfield, and somehow Dolphins still managed to perform well. So that was good, even though lapse in offensive lineman play, if I gotta say so. But aside from that, Dolphins had a pretty good game. I think they had 3 turnovers, forced 3 turnovers. They blocked the punt. I mean, it was great. So we're gonna go over some stats real quick. Cam Newton went 5 of 21, 92 yards. 2 interceptions, sacked once for a loss of 14 yards. PJ Walker went 5 of 10, 87 yards, 1 interception. Sacked 4 times for a loss of 31 yards. That's crazy. For the Dolphins, Tua was the only one that played, and he went 27 to 31, 230 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and 2 sacks for a loss of 26 yards. And I think one of those was the fumble that he ended up losing and stuff like that right before halftime. But I mean, only having 4 incompletions is not bad by Tua, so good job by him. Rushing, Christian McCaffrey had 10 carries for 35 yards. Closest one was Chandler with 1 carry, 14 yards. Pretty much a bit abysmal, besides Cam Newton getting that 1 rushing touchdown. For the Dolphins, Myles Gaskin had 16 carries, 49 yards, 2 touchdowns. Longest was 8 yards. Philip Lindsay, the new addition, had a pretty decent day. He had 12 carries, 42 yards. It wasn't anything out of this world, but enough to, solidify that, hey, I still got it. I can get myself a spot on this Dolphins team, and I think he earned himself that spot. Savon Ahmed had 5 carries for 17 yards, but his longest carry was a 16-yard one, so pretty good play by him. Panthers leading receiver DJ Moore had 4 receptions, 103 yards. Longest was 64. It could have been a touchdown, but luckily Byron Jones was able to wrap him up about 15 yards within, and then I'm pretty sure that's where they scored the rushing touchdown, but if not, then they turned it over. I'm not fully sure. Pretty much falls off after that. We have Brandon Zaraista for the Panthers, 1 reception, 24 yards. Amir Abdullah had 2 receptions, 20 yards. I mean, Robbie Anderson, 1 reception, 15 yards. I mean, it wasn't a good day for the Panthers. On the Dolphins, on the other hand, great game. Jalen Waddle, 9 receptions, 137 yards, 1 touchdown. Longest was 57 yards off of 10 targets, so he only dropped 1 ball. So that was great by Jalen Waddle. Darren Smythe had himself quite the game. 5 receptions, 32 yards. Longest was 11 off of 5 targets, so he was perfect catching the ball. And the Dolphins are running a pretty good play. Pretty much, they faked the run to whoever's and running back at the time, but for the most part, it was Myles Gaskin when they did this. Faked the run, and then just dump it right off to Darren Smythe. And that worked out pretty well. I mean, he got 5 receptions out of it. I'd say about 3 or 4 of those were literally from that play I'm describing to you guys. Mike Gesicki, 3 receptions, 17 yards. Same thing for Albert Wilson, 5 receptions, 17 yards. Isaiah Ford, 1 reception and 11 yards. And that's pretty much it receiving for the Dolphins. Others were just not big contributions. Fumbles. Luvu recovered a fumble that is the one that Tua fumbled off of the muff snap. He also lost another one, but that was recovered by Jesse Davis. And then Javion Holland recovered a fumble that I think he lost. Off on the punt. He punted. There was a punt, and Javion Holland, he had muffed the punt, recovered it, and then made 3 guys miss, and then got a couple yards. It could have been worse. Leading tackler for the Panthers was Shaq Thompson, 13 total tackles, 10 solo, pretty much non-existent on every other stat category. D. Jackson had 11 total tackles, 10 solo, 1 pass deflection. Jeremy Chin, 1 pass deflection. Brian Burns, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, and 1 QB hit. Pretty much that's all for the Panthers defense. Dolphins defense, though, they came to play. The reason the game is 10-33, and that is Christian Wilkins, 5 total tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, and 1 QB hit. Eric Rowe, 5 totals, 1 solo, 1 pass deflection. Jalen Phillips, probably his best game so far, and I know these numbers in terms of tackles isn't anything crazy, but 4 total tackles, 3 solo, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss, 1 pass for deflection, and 4 QB hits. I mean, that's amazing. That is literally what the Dolphins drafted him in the first round for, so nothing but, good things happening in terms of that selection. Emmanuel Ogbah has his 7th consecutive game with a pass deflection at the line of scrimmage, so that's great. Xavier Howard has an interception for 16 yards. Nick Needham intercepted one, and so did Javion Holland. So, I mean, the defense was just balling out of their minds. Punt returns, Javion Holland had 2 punt returns, 19 yards. Jalen Waddle had 1 return, 17 yards. Jason Sanders went 2 for 2 on field goals, 3 for 4 on extra points. Sanders is quite concerning. He's been missing some field goals, and if you say a year or 2 ago, I mean, he was not missing anything, so quite concerned there, but whatever. Matt Pardley had 4 punts, 162 total yards. 4 of them were in the 20. Longest was 46 yards. And then for the Panthers, we have Zane Gonzalez, 1 for 1 on field goals, 1 for 1 on extra points, and then Edwards, let's see what's his first name. Luckland Edwards had 5 total punts, 261 yards. 1 was a touchback, none were in the 20, and then the longest was 58 yards. So I said Dolphins need to do 3 things, and that was run the ball, do play action after running it good, and put pressure on Cam Newton. I think they successfully completed all of those. Didn't run the ball efficiently. I mean, you can't say with how many total yards rushing that the Dolphins have. Just about 101. I mean, that was good enough to get them to win. Against other opponents, it's not going to be enough. So, but that's more down the line. I think the Dolphins have, easier opponents right now in this stretch between now and late December. They're going to have an easier stretch of games, easier opponents. The next game is against the Giants. Hopefully that's an easy one for the Dolphins. But what else? So they ran the ball well. Play action. Told you 3 plays in a row. They did literally fake the run, dump it off to Smythe. Fake the run, dump it off to Smythe. So, it was just working. Whatever the Dolphins really wanted, they got it to work. Unfortunate that they did have that fumble right before the half. But at the end of the day, the Dolphins ended up winning pretty easily, so it's not that big of a deal. What else? Okay, and then they got pressure on Cam Newton. They got pressure on P.J. Walker, mostly 4 sacks, but he played the majority of the second half. But Cam Newton, he couldn't go anywhere, and on top of that, he was just making errant throws. So it was really good on the defensive side and offensive side for the Dolphins. Special teams got that blocked punt. Ended up being a touchdown for them, so that's huge. That's just big for the Dolphins. It's a big one. They improved to 5-7, which if you would have told me that they were going to be 5-7 a month ago, I'd be happy and be like, hell yeah. But realistically, I would have been like, long shot. But their Dolphins are making it work, and they have a decent opportunity to, be relatively competitive. Not guaranteeing that they're going to be in the playoffs or anything like that, but 1 week at a time, like I've been saying. Just keep it rolling, and hopefully the Dolphins can keep on winning. Next week they have the Giants. I think they go on the bye week after that, and then they play the Jets, Saints, Titans, and Patriots, and then that's pretty much the season. So it's dwindling down, but yeah, hopefully they have a good week. And so next week against the Giants, Panthers have a tough road ahead of themselves too. They're second still in their division. I think the Patriots retook the lead for the AFC East because they won. They do have the tiebreaker against the Patriots. I mean, against the Bills. I'm not sure, but either way, they're playing Monday night next week, so someone is going to lose the lead in the division. Dolphins cannot control anything against the Bills anymore because they've played them twice and lost twice. Yeah, should be interesting going down the line. But thanks for watching, and fins up.